But before we dive into the disturbing tales of the night, let me ask you, do you have the courage to stay until the end? Most viewers don't subscribe to the channel, perhaps out of oversight, or perhaps because after hearing these stories, they never slept the same way again. If you think you can handle it, click subscribe now.
I don't know where to start. Maybe with the night everything changed for me. My name is Dr. Carly Harper, and I work at the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office in Pennsylvania. I've always been a skeptic, not religious nor mystical. My world was made of scalpels, reports, toxicology screens, science. But on that early morning of November 12, 2007, I realized that not everything can be explained under a microscope. It was a quiet night with a thin snow falling outside. Dr. Levine, my supervisor at the time, and I were finishing up the reports from 2 previous cases when the radio crackled to life in the silence of the morgue. Removal in progress. Female victim, approximately 25 years old. Advanced state of decomposition. The body was found in a small apartment in East Liberty. Neighbors called the police because of the strong smell. No one had seen her for 2 days, but they reported hearing an intense argument with her boyfriend the previous night. After that, silence. When the body arrived, I felt my stomach churn. She was in a fetal position, her arms tightly crossed over her chest, her jaw clenched. The rigor mortis wasn't abnormal for the time of death, but there was something wrong. Something too tense, as if every cell was resisting. "Let's open her up," said Dr. Levine, already putting on his gloves. But it was useless. We tried to pry open the young woman's arms, first calmly, then with controlled force. Not even the scalpel glided easily over the skin. The musculature seemed solidified, petrified, far beyond normal rigor. I leaned over her and felt something strange, a coldness beneath the skin, like circulating ice. Dr. Levine sighed and stepped back. "Carly, ... do you believe in restless dead?" "What do you mean? Sometimes the bodies don't yield because they're still afraid." I smiled, thinking it was some morbid joke from a veteran coroner. But he was serious, very serious. He told me he had seen this happen before. A body refusing the autopsy, muscles locked as if something was preventing them from being manipulated. And then he taught me something that, honestly, made me feel like an idiot at the time. But today, ... I would do again. Talk to her. What? Talk to the body. Sometimes it just needs ... permission. I was alone with the corpse for a few minutes. The light in the room seemed dimmer. And the cold. Well, the cold was now coming from inside me. I placed my hand on hers. It was as cold as stone. And then I said, "Hey, I'm Dr. Harper. I know that you went through something terrible, but now you're safe. I promise to take care of you. We just want to understand what happened. We're going to help you rest." And then, for the first time in almost 40 minutes, the fingers of her hand moved, subtle, almost imperceptible, but they moved. I called Dr. Levine, and together we were finally able to unlock her arms. The autopsy proceeded normally after that, but the feeling, that presence around us, didn't go away. On the file, we noted only muscular rigidity outside the common pattern, overcome with careful manual manipulation. But that wasn't the whole truth. I touched someone who was still afraid, and somehow ... she heard me. I never looked at a corpse the same way after that night. After we managed to open the woman's arms, we proceeded with the autopsy. There were clear signs of beating broken ribs, old and new bruises. It was obvious that she had been suffering violence for some time, Dr. Sanchez confirmed, with the coldness of someone who has seen it all. Abusive relationship. Probably the boyfriend finished what he had been doing for months. While he worked, I approached the woman's face. She was young, very young. Something bothered me deeply, the way her eyes remained half closed, almost as if they were watching us. And the strangest thing now, even with the body open, her face seemed more serene, as if she had, somehow, been heard. But the feeling that she was still there didn't pass. We finished the autopsy at 4:20 in the morning. I cleaned the table and went to put away the instruments. When I returned to close the body in the cold storage, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. The woman's hand was in a new position. Before, her fingers were clenched. Now, the index finger was extended, pointing directly at me. "Sanchez, did you see that?" He turned around and frowned. "See what?" Her hand. It was closed. Now it's like this. "You didn't move it." Me. "I haven't touched her since we finished. It must have been you." But I knew I hadn't. And something inside me said that this was more than just a muscular reflex. There was purpose in that gesture. There was intention. I took a deep breath, approached the woman, and held her hand once more. It was icy, but soft. "Do you want me to see something?" I whispered. The finger then moved. A small spasm, almost imperceptible. But I saw it. I looked around. No movement, no sound. I decided to pull up the intake form again. While Sanchez went to the bathroom, I went back to the papers. Her name was Elena Ruiz, 24 years old, resident of Flagstaff. The boyfriend, Darren Klein, had been questioned, but since there were no witnesses or direct evidence, he was released. I rummaged through Elena's personal belongings, a destroyed cell phone, a broken necklace, and an envelope. Inside, there was a handwritten letter, with tremors, dragged letters, misaligned, but with a clear message. If something happens to me, it was Darren. He said, "I am his and no one else's. I am scared. If anyone finds this, listen to me." I jumped out of the chair. "Sanchez, we need to call the police. This is evidence." She tried to warn us. "This is practically a confession." He returned from the bathroom with a pale expression. "Santiago, did you hear it?" "Hear what?" The voice. It called me. From the instrument closet. It said my name. It was sweet, like a whisper, but feminine. It was her. We looked at each other, and even without saying anything, we knew Elena was still there. Not in the body, but in some thin layer between this world and the next. We handed the letter over to the authorities. The next morning, Darren was arrested. Elena's necklace had dried blood under the chain. The genetic test confirmed it was his, and on his back, according to the investigator's testimony, there were scratches that seemed desperate. She fought. She didn't want to die. There are some things you don't forget when you work with the dead. The sound a broken rib makes when you have to cut the sternum. The smell that doesn't wash away even after 3 showers. And certain conversations, especially when they shouldn't be possible. I never thought I would crack. I've always been a skeptic. A doctor, logical, rational. But what happened that November night made me question even what is real. It was my first solo shift in the morgue of a state hospital in rural Pennsylvania. Not exactly what I dreamed of when I started my residency, but it was quiet, at least until that night. I arrived around 10 p.m. The cleaning lady, a woman named Marie, was still cleaning the floor of the cold room. Since I couldn't go in until she was done, I sat at the end of the hallway, on one of the steel gurneys that are leaned against the wall. Everything was quiet, just the fluorescent lights flickering and that constant hum that seems to come from the ceiling. I took out my cell phone, opened Instagram, and started killing time. I was almost falling asleep right there when I heard footsteps. Small footsteps. Fast. Then came the voice. "Do you work here?" I almost jumped off the gurney. In front of me was a girl, must have been about 6 years old. Brown hair pulled back to the side, light pink dress. She seemed totally out of place there in that cold, empty corridor. But she was smiling as if she were at home. Yes. "I'm a doctor. I work here in the part for people who are gone," I replied, trying to sound calm. I was already wondering how someone left a child alone on that floor. The people who died. "Yes," I replied, trying not to sound morbid. She sat on the gurney next to me, swinging her little feet. "And do they wake up? Sometimes?" I laughed, not really knowing what to say. "No, they don't wake up. But sometimes I hear voices in there," she said, pointing with her chin towards the morgue room. At that moment, I froze. Where did she come from, I thought? The whole floor was empty. I would have heard the elevator or footsteps on the stairs. It didn't make sense. "And where are your parents?" I asked, trying not to sound alarmed. She pointed to the double doors that led to the emergency room. "They're there. I just came to see what's in here. It's kind of sad here, but you're nice." I tried to force a smile. The girl started to get up and play among the gurneys, spinning, laughing, as if it were a playground. Only something bothered me, a detail. That's when I realized. On the back of her head, above her neck, there was an open wound, deep, as if she had fallen down a concrete staircase. Only it wasn't bleeding, and she seemed totally normal, without pain. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked, approaching her. She laughed again, swinging her dress. "I'm better now. It doesn't even hurt anymore." Then my cell phone beeped with a notification. I looked reflexively. When I turned my eyes back to the hallway, she was gone. I got up immediately, ran to the door to the emergency room, looked both ways. Nothing. I went to the stairs. Empty. It was impossible for someone to disappear so quickly without being seen. It was as if she had simply evaporated. I stood there for a while, trying to understand what had just happened. I convinced myself that maybe I had dozed off a little, dreamed, that my brain was playing tricks. But nothing would prepare me for what came next. The cold room was ready when I returned, but my head was spinning. Marie, the cleaning lady, gave me a distracted goodnight and left, pulling the cleaning cart. I tried to ignore what had happened. I convinced myself that it was stress, or some crazy childhood memory scrambled with lack of sleep. Maybe a hallucination. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. I did the equipment checklist. I organized the countertops. I opened the computer to fill out a form when the intercom rang. Body arriving from the emergency department. Girl, 6 years old. Severe fall. Time of entry, 11:40 p.m. Prepare, gurney. I stopped. My fingers froze over the keyboard. 6 years old. No, it can't be. I pressed the button. Confirm, sex, and age. The technician's voice came back, without emotion. Female, 6 years old. Clothing, light pink dress, wound in the occipital region. I felt my stomach turn. The air disappeared. No, it can't be her. It can't. I went to the door of the entrance room, trembling. I heard the wheels of the gurney approaching. When the two attendants arrived, I moved away slowly, almost unable to look. They placed the body on the stainless steel table, covered with a white sheet. They signed the protocol and left, leaving only me there, alone with what I already knew would be under that cloth. With trembling hands, I pulled back the sheet, and there she was. The same brown hair pulled to the side, the same light pink dress, the same deep wound on the back of her head. Her eyes closed, her mouth slightly ajar, pale, cold. Undoubtedly the same girl I spoke to less than an hour before. I recoiled, banging my back against the wall. I tried to breathe, but it seemed that the air in the room had disappeared. How? The report said that death was confirmed at 10:50 p.m. She appeared to me after that. She spoke to me. She played. She sat there next to me. I saw it. I ran to the system and checked the medical record. She entered lifeless. Cardiorespiratory arrest after falling on a residential staircase. Severe traumatic brain injury. Resuscitation attempts unsuccessful. She was already dead. She had already died when she spoke to me in the hallway. I started to question everything. I called my supervisor that night, but I couldn't explain it. I stammered, I hesitated. When I said that I thought I had seen the child's spirit, he let out a sigh. "Dr. Park, you're not the first to tell me something like that," he said. "Just try to rest. This place messes with us." He hung up without explaining anything else. Since that day, I haven't been able to enter that room without feeling her gaze. The place where she sat is still there, the stainless steel gurney at the end of the hallway. And sometimes, when I'm on duty at night, I hear light footsteps, short, childish laughter, soft, that disappears as soon as you try to follow it. I still have nightmares. Sometimes she appears in them, and she's not smiling anymore. I've never been the impressionable type. I've seen bodies decompose, bodies burned, bodies torn apart. Death, however brutal, has a logic. It's life that we don't understand. But that night, what I saw had no logic. None. I work as a forensic technician in a medium-sized hospital in upstate New York. We handle the bodies right after they arrive, cataloging, washing, preparing. Nothing glamorous, but someone has to do it. My shift partner was Alex. Laid-back guy, the kind who cracks jokes even while sawing through someone's sternum. It was almost midnight when we received the body of a woman. Young, maybe 30 years old, dark hair, fair skin, empty eyes. The cause of death was still inconclusive, but the state of the body indicated that she had been found shortly after death. She arrived soaking wet. They had pulled her from a bathtub, apparently. The sheet clung to her skin. We started the standard sanitization process. Turned on the warm water, put on our gloves, adjusted the lighting. Low music on the portable radio. Everything normal until it wasn't. It happened out of nowhere. The power went out. The radio died. The lights flickered twice and went out. A dense silence took over the room. The only thing that continued was the sound of water dripping from the sink. "Relax," Alex said. "This happens all the time here. It must be the generator." But the generator didn't turn on. We were left in the dark. And complete darkness in the morgue is another level of darkness. I pulled out the flashlight I carry in my lab coat pocket. Small but powerful. I pointed it forward. I saw the countertop, the instruments, the sheet, everything still, everything normal. I pointed the flashlight at Alex, who was facing away from me, washing his hands in the sink. And that's when it happened. She was standing behind him, without making a sound, without moving. The dead woman, wet, naked, exactly as she had been lying on the gurney moments before, but now standing erect, with her hair plastered to her face and her gaze fixed, dead, nailed to Alex's back. She didn't seem threatening. She didn't seem alive either, just present, as if she had been pulled back from nowhere by accident, as if she was still waiting for something. I couldn't scream. I just froze. The flashlight slipped from my hand. It fell to the floor with a dry sound, and the beam of light broke, flickering across the wall. And in that instant, the darkness swallowed everything again. The sound of the water dripping stopped. The flashlight spun on the floor, illuminating only the ceiling for a second before going out completely. The blackness took over the room. I don't know how long I stood there, unable to move a muscle. The sound of the dripping water had ceased, as if the world had paused. "Dude, you okay?" Alex's voice broke the silence, like a hammer blow to my head. He turned around, searching for me in the dark. "Crap," I dropped the flashlight. I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, even with my heart racing. He groped on the countertop, found another spare flashlight, and turned it on. The light cut through the room, empty. She wasn't there anymore. Behind him, only the space between the sink and the cold wall. The gurney was still there, and the body was still there, motionless, in the same position as before, as if nothing had happened, as if she had never gotten up. But I saw it. I swear on everything that I saw it. Finishing the process after that was a nightmare. I was trembling as I held the instruments. I didn't tell Alex anything, the way he acted, as if he was completely oblivious. Whistling some random tune ... was worse. If he had felt something, it would have been easier. But he didn't feel anything, just me. In the following days, I tried to rationalize it. Stress, strange reflection of the light, hallucination caused by sleep deprivation. But then the noises started. Every time I was alone in that room, I heard the dripping of the sink, even when it was dry. And once, when I entered early to organize the autopsy table, I found a strand of black hair on the floor, far from the gurney, soaked. The autopsy of that woman revealed nothing concrete, no obvious trauma, no clear cause. The only theory was accidental drowning, but even that was uncertain. She was buried in silence, but some part of her didn't leave that place. On the quietest nights, I feel the same thing I felt at that moment. The air stopping, time holding its breath. And sometimes, without understanding why, I catch myself looking behind people, like a reflex, to see if someone is there. I never dropped that flashlight again. I received some messages asking if I saw anything else after that, once. A month later, I arrived early for my shift, and when I passed by the hallway, the morgue door was ajar. Inside, the lights were off, and the sink was dripping, alone.